We're now inching closer and closer to war with Iran that is heavily, heavily pushed by Israel. Want to make that very, very clear. Today, the USS Gerald Ford has been deployed near Israel, off Israel's coast. And keep in mind, the USS Abe Lincoln is now in the Arabian Sea off the coast of Oman. So U.S. military assets are basically positioned all around where they need to be for a massive war with Iran. And it seems like now more than ever, it seems like it's exactly where we're headed. They're talking about all of these negotiations that are going on between the United States and Iran. But as we all know, it's all fluff. They're just trying to pretend that, they're being diplomatic. At the end of the day, what they already want is what they want is war. They want to overthrow the regime. So there's already been some statements. Trump says he's not happy with the progress being made, while other individuals are saying differently. Trump stated Iran already threatens Europe and bases with missiles and is close to striking America. Basically, just putting everything that putting out all of the putting out all of the usual propaganda to really just try to rile up Americans to go to war with Iran. That's basically what's trying to happen here. One of the biggest propagandists ever, actually, the staunchly pro-Israel Senator Tom Cotton, he actually said this on Fox News today. So just take a listen.
Well, you shouldn't, Sean. I don't either. I don't know who was calling significant progress from that meeting this morning. It sounds like it may have been the Iranians. Remember, they believe for 47 years that they can't win a war, but they can win any negotiation. I think with Donald Trump, they're likely to lose both. As you said, they're refusing to stop enriching uranium.
So, and he's just going to go on. I stopped right there.
As you said, they're refusing to stop enriching uranium. That was a central demand of the president going back 10 years. And as Marco Rubio very critically pointed out, this is not just about their nuclear program. They have thousands of ballistic missiles that threaten our bases in the Middle East.
So, I mean, there you go. And of course, this guy, he's also a massive neocon, continuously pushing for war. So it seems like we're just going to get it because ultimately the Israelis want it, the neocons in the United States want it, and nobody's really trying to stop it. Here's the thing that people really don't, people don't really think about is they think it's a regime change operation. I don't think it's a regime change operation at all. Actually, I don't think they want to change the regime. I just think they want the regime to fall, and I think they want to fragment the country into specific ethnic blocks. I don't think it's a regime change operation. I think it's a balkanization. And I think what they're trying to do right now, because we have to remember, I showed you guys, the greater Israel plan. This is actually really important. Let me go ahead and show you guys this. The Yanon plan back in the 80s. Israel, there was an Israeli military researcher and an analyst, and he put together what's known as the Yanon plan. And the Yanon plan is basically about how they're going to break up the Middle East into specific ethnic blocks. So basically just destroy Middle Eastern countries and break the Middle East up into specific ethnic blocks that would be easier for Israel to have total hegemony in the Middle East. So here's the Yanon plan here, and this has everything to do with Iran and why I don't think Iran is actually a regime change operation. Here's the Yanon plan here, and what you see if you zoom in here, you see Iran here, and you could tell that the borders are a lot different for countries. Let me zoom in a lot so you guys can see this really well. You could see that even the borders are different for Turkey as well. And look where Iran is, and then what's this new state in purple? It says Free Kurdistan. And you see it right there, and it says Free Kurdistan, and then you see Syria and Iraq is different. Greater Jordan, that's interesting. Jordan's also broken apart. Saudi Arabia is definitely broken apart, and you still see the UAE there. And what you end up noticing is there's an entirely new state, and there's Israel. So what's actually going on here is that what they're trying to do, and what I believe they're trying to do, is they're going to try to basically overthrow the regime and then break down Iran so that way the state is no longer functional cohesively, and the Kurds in northern Iran, in the west-north of Iran, are going to be able to basically have their own semi-autonomous state along with the Kurds in Iraq and the Kurds in Syria and basically form one larger cohesive state. I think that's the goal. I think personally that's the goal, and I don't just think that just, putting out my thoughts on it. I think that because we see Israelis continuously talking about this. We see Israeli wartime analysts talking about this. So it seems like if they're so obsessed, Ben Shapiro, all of these people, that we hear them say Free Kurdistan all the time. And I want to make it very clear, I support all people's self-determination that feel like that truly want it. So if Kurds want self-determination, I'm going to be the first person cheering that on. So I'm not going to ever stop anybody's desire for self-determination, but what is important is to understand why it's all happening. Okay, I think what seems to be happening is they want to overthrow the regime in Iran, break Iran up by ethnic groups. They want to create a Kurdistan state, which the Israelis will consider an ally. The Kurds, though, I've met a lot of Kurds. I have a lot of Kurdish followers, and one of my close friends is Kurdish, and they're incredibly supportive of Palestine. But regardless, the Israelis want to have a Kurdistan state on the other side of the Euphrates. It's going to make it easier for Israel to have more hegemony of the Middle East. It's going to break up Middle Eastern nationalism. That's a really big thing for Israel. They don't want nationalism. They don't want there to be proud Syrians or proud Iraqis or proud Jordanians. They just want there to be Arabs. That's it. They just want there to be Arabs. They don't want you to think you're an Iraqi or a Syrian. They want you to think you're an Arab and nothing else. They want to break apart the sense of identity. And they want to do that because it's going to be easier to take over the Middle East when there isn't the strong national identity with countries, because it's going to be easier to fragment those countries. Look at the map that we see here, and we start to see again, they break down Sunni Iraq versus an Arab Shia state. We see, of course, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is really broken up. We see this new Islamic sacred state with Mecca and Medina. And then we see a different Saudi homelands independent territory state. So, I mean, this is the Yanon plan. They had this whole idea of breaking the Middle East up in this way. And then, of course, you also see that Turkey is also a bit smaller as well, because there's a lot of Kurds in Turkey, Southeast Turkey. So it's going to be part of that free Kurdistan. It seems like this is kind of where we're headed. And if it wasn't where we're headed, they're doing a damn good job at making it seem like, at just doing everything possible to put the deck of cards, to put things in line for this to be where we're going. And of course, you don't see, Palestine in there at all. Absolutely not. It says right now, it says in this map, West Bank status undetermined. And then you see a greater Lebanon as well. And you see things chopped up. Of course, Syria is chopped up. So everything's different. Now, what's interesting is that I think, I need to stop saying I think, it seems the UAE is pretty well aware of this. The UAE is pretty well aware of this. And the UAE is not only well aware of this, they actually are helping. They're actually helping the Israelis make this happen, especially when it comes to Saudi Arabia. When it comes to Saudi Arabia, right now, MBZ, Mohammed bin Zayed, is going back and forth with Mohammed bin Salman, and it seems like there is a rivalry there as well between Saudi Arabia and the UAE. The UAE being a Zionist Trojan horse, and you could see the UAE here in the Arabian Peninsula there. And it seems like the UAE also has an interest, and I showed you guys a video a few weeks ago or just last week. It seems the UAE also has an interest of honestly just destroying Saudi Arabia. It seems like they really just want to basically have more hegemony of the Middle East, and they want to basically advance Israel's interests to corner all sides of Saudi Arabia. That's kind of where I think we're headed right now. They want to basically have Saudi Arabia encircled on all sides, along with, their Zionist masters. They themselves are Zionists now, and they want to help fragment the Middle East up, so that way Israel feels safe and there's no real threat. So no, it's really not about a regime change operation, which is why also I think that these pro-Israel Iranians, specifically these Iranian Jewish Zionists, that are talking about how it's going to be great and we're going to have a new Western-backed president. They're pushing for the Shah. Stop kidding yourselves. What are you talking about? Putting in the Shah? He's incredibly unfavorable in Iran, as well as the current regime. And again, I'm not trying to be pro anything. I'm not, absolutely not. But I just want to talk about honest geopolitics here about what Israel's aims are. Their aim is not to put a pro-West government in place. It's not. And I think people are confusing that. They think we want to do a regime change operation. No, it's a regime overthrow operation plus fragmentation. It's not, let's put in a new leader that's going to be pro-West. Of course, they're going to put somebody else in place. They might try to make it a democracy. I don't know what they're going to do. But what they're also going to do, and what the CIA is definitely going to do, what the Mossad is definitely going to do, is to make sure there's an ensuing civil war, if needed, in order to split off the Kurds, to split off the other ethnic minorities. They don't want nationhood. They don't want there to be cohesive statehood. This is what they want. So I hope you found this information helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments below as well. And if you're Kurdish, if you're Iranian, and whatever else, let me know your thoughts. I'd be curious to hear. Otherwise, I please give this video a thumbs up, comment below, click the subscribe button if you haven't already. It helps me reach more people like you. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.